to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms. We really want to thank everybody that has subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks to every single person that supports us on Patreon and sends us love donations through PayPal. We appreciate love you so much. We do have a free gift for you in the mail, so definitely look out for that. Today I wanted to talk about contamination, beloveds, and I think explain contamination from a slightly different perspective, which may make you really understand and understand why, and someone wrote upper stand, all right, an upper stand, why it's so important to really seek that purity, purify yourself and then maintain that purity, because we're spiritual beings having a human experience in a mental universe. And so, as much as we have all the power spiritually, this physical body gives us the license to move and operate on this physical plane. And so without this body, there's not much we can do. Looks like my friends are agreeing. There's not much when the limitations of this body limit how much of our spirit can work through this body to effect change in our lives, in our communities, in our nations. And so we have to always be very careful, because the law of correspondence, which is one of the 7 major laws, just the fundamental laws of the universe, where as above so below, as outside so inside, so we always have to make sure that this vehicle is at its purest form, so that we can hold the highest version of our spirit, which is vibrating at a very high level. So sometimes, we've chosen to come here. We're supposed to be these major game changers, major leaders. But when the spirit starts to filter into the body, there's just so much sluggishness and slowness, and the body can't even handle the high vibration. So we almost have to, dumb ourselves down. And that's the state they want us to be in. That's really the state they want us to be in, beloveds. And so for them, it's so easy to block us from our greatness by merely contaminating us. They don't even have to be, there's a lot that's happening with the contamination, like with chemtrails, how they're poisoning the skies. I'm telling you, chemtrails have even reached Africa, beloveds. Sometimes I see it in the mountain and I'm like, fluoride in the water, fluoride in the toothpaste, all these things that kind of keep the first eye shut and clogged up. All of these things, beloveds, that's what they're doing externally. But they have created an emotional system where we emotionally do everything. We emotionally eat, we emotionally watch things, we emotionally listen to things. So we don't always pick the things that are the highest vibrational level for ourselves. So we'll contaminate ourselves because of our thinking, because we've never realized that truly it's all about the mind. It's all about how your thoughts are flowing, beloveds. And so we contaminate ourselves with food. And then there's been a major contamination of our ears with very low vibrational music. And you can check the gigawatts or the hertz or whatever. But, and all the imagery of the music, how sexualized and low vibrational the music is, that keeps us in a low vibrational state. And it may feel good. It's like an addiction, they've made it extremely addictive. So it may feel good for a moment and you think you're just there for a moment, but days, months, years, decades go by, generations go by on these contamination hooks. So they contaminate our eyes. where spiritually we become limited in what we can visualize. Because the less you look at this world, the more you see, beloveds. But too many of us are looking too much in this world. And we go looking for the contamination. What do you think movies do? Movies just take your vessel, take your soul, and just get it into to consent to a narrative that they're trying to pull out, like the zombie apocalypse. I mean, what was trending in Kenya was the Army of the Dead. Sometimes I think they make these things trend across the world, but the latest zombie movie. It's like, and all the people who go to see it get hooked into that, and that becomes like that interferes with their vision. Babylon loves to see for us, beloveds, and they don't see good things for us. They don't see good things about us. They lie about what they see. They manipulate what they see. And so that's one of the major contaminations. And like all the contaminations go through the gates and they contaminate our thinking. They alter our thinking. Another way we contaminate, so we contaminate ourselves with foods, beloveds. Because the foods make our bodies so heavy. We want to make ourselves as light and energetic as possible so that we can hold that spirit. We're powerful spiritual beings. But you're probably seeing a fragment of yourself right now. Because all these things limit how much of yourself can come into this vessel to express itself. That's how this world works, beloveds. Is your spirit comes into this temple and worships at this temple. It is, they are bequeathed this temple. They can even invite other spirits to worship at the temple and give them this superpower. But from the temple, they release their expression of love, their expression of creation. So if your temple is filled with all kinds of dirt and muck and wrong ideologies, books with wrong ideologies, Bibles and everything, that's what you see in your temple, then the spirit that can come through is very limited. And, I don't know if I'll lose people, but we are multidimensional beings, and there is a highest version of yourself, beloveds. But most of the time, that highest version of yourself will not be able to or even want to express itself at such a low vibrational level. And so that's why they've worked so much on the contamination, because the contamination is what is blocking the liberation. Because it's all about every person liberating themselves until we reach a tipping point when the collective, just the ripple effect, liberates the collective. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa. Welcome back, beloveds, to Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. Thanks to every single person that has subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and like and share, beloveds, so that, Dr. Mumbi's spiritual show gets out there. Really, thank you so much for all the emails that you send. We do have a series called Ask Dr. Mumbi. So if you have any questions, spiritual questions you'd like us to answer or delve into, definitely email me, drmumbi@drmumbishow.com. And my team usually picks out, the most requested, the most popular questions of the hour. So, beloveds, I wanted to really talk about and bring your attention to contamination, because you see, everything that we contaminate ourselves with limits our power. That's how you should look at it, because I've been getting a lot of emails where people are like, how do we power up? How do we power up? There are many ways to power up, but the most important, the first and fundamental one, is to remove all the contaminants that are coming into your system. And everything is contaminated with all kinds of things that are just supposed to block your vibration. And I've realized that is what has held up the liberation, beloveds. Not only Babylon cutting down our life, our lifespan from thousands of years to barely 100 years. Barely 70 years for the majority who are truly contaminated. But they've also managed to keep us from coming into our own. And because of the lifestyle and the reality they've created, which is just physically, satisfying, but on an animalistic level, beloveds. And it costs so much at the end of the day because you have to come back. And so you might be in an ideal situation because, beloveds, these times right now are the most ideal to be here for true transformation and change and to experience everything. So you don't want to squander these times and then have to come back maybe into the matrix because your consciousness is still attached to it, into the Babylon matrix when the Babylon matrix has become a full prison planet. Because the worlds are splitting, beloveds. Babylon has fallen spiritually, but so many people are connected mentally and give their power to Babylon daily. And so the contamination limits how much you can operate in this world and create miracles in your own life. It limits how you can be, how much of a magnet you can be. Because if you're truly walking in your power as a supreme being, you should think something and it's magnetized towards you. Money, magnetized towards you. Teachers, magnetized towards you. Answers and solutions, magnetized towards you. Because you have that level of clarity where before you've even contemplated something, where you're just like, I wish I had this, or it would be so nice to experience that. The experience manifests itself. It's magical, beloveds. It's so magical how it happens. And you really, all that's required is like, we are riding this like speedboat across the oceans of life. And all we have to do is keep steady, beloveds, so that we can ride every wave and visit every nation and experience all the wonderful things that are on this journey. We just have to keep ourselves steady, beloveds. Because that contamination, as you come out of it, it will always try and pull you. It's another magnet. It's like steel. Let's say you're the magnet. That's a steel that you've been pulling to or that you've been attached to for so long. So when you start to walk away, there is that pull. But once you release that, you can become a magnet for other things. And so reducing the contamination, especially even sexual contamination, beloveds. Because every time you sleep with someone, you exchange like, let's say, the equivalent of 5 GBs of information. Imagine all the 5 GBs of information some of you have. And just the exchange, like what the quality of the information, it mashes you up. Because now that person's spirit is supposed to enter your temple and be an aid in your temple, because anyone you sleep with actually enters your temple and becomes a part of your temple unless you clear them out. And sometimes those sexual energies are hard to clear out, and sometimes people haven't cleared them out ever, so they're still mashing them up. They're still roaming and reigning in your temple and influencing, the level of vibration that you're at and your thinking. Because you have to have total clarity to operate in the purity and the pureness of your highest self, beloveds. And that's where the power reigns. That's where you now start flowing in life. And, it just becomes heaven on earth. Because what you want appears, what you want manifests. And just even things you didn't know you wanted, but just give you such fullness of joy, start to become part of your reality. So be careful what you're feeding yourself physically, beloveds, emotionally, what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to. If you want to power up, these are the things you have to do, because those are the things contaminating you. And then stop using as many Babylon products as possible. Like for my beloved sisters, you shouldn't be wearing weaves because that's someone else's freaking energy on your crown. Like, that's crazy. And you really shouldn't be relaxing your hair because that's what's created a fibroids epidemic among our women. We have to like get as pure and pure as possible, beloveds. Be careful what you're watching. Even if you love that gangster rap, whatever, that's just demeaning women, or, you know, all these, the Nicki Minaj, those shouldn't even be in your radar, beloveds. Because you pay a high price by dipping into that world, even for a little bit. Especially now Babylon is falling. We have to have that discipline to allow it to fall and remove our consciousness from it. That's what that means. Like, stop attaching so much emotion or fun and satisfaction. All these fake things that they've said, it's not real. But in order to experience the realness of life, you have to develop that self-discipline and realize everything we use, the perfumes, the colognes, even the makeup I'm wearing, beloveds. You know, I'm still working on myself. But all of these things contaminate our temple and limit the kind of God that can reside there. Tuko pamoja.